everyone, Karen here. Today I'm going to be making a Thanksgiving card. I'm going to use this stamp set from Autumn Blessings, but I'm going to use the Halloween pets to make little pilgrims, a cat and a dog, and a scarecrow. So we will get to those pieces here in a minute because I have everything all cut out here. But let me show you all my paper measurements before we get started. For the inside of the card, I have a 3x5, which I'm going to stamp on, and I'm going to layer that on a 3.5 by 5.5. I have a 5x7 card blank, so that is a 10x7 scored at 5. I have from Autumn Blessings, I have a 6 3/4 by 4 3/4 piece of paper. I'm going to use a 6x4, and then a 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 on the front. So that's what's going to be here. I did emboss my pieces here with 2 embossing folders that I have, and these are just patterned ones. Anything with a small pattern that you have in your stash will work. This one just has these streaky lines, and this one just has kind of all these little circles all over the place. But anything will work. I just wanted to give the scarecrow a little bit of texture. Alright, so let's get started in building some of these pieces. Let me scoot this over here. Now let's start with the dog. Alright, so the dog has, let me bring in the stamps, the die set. So the dog body is this piece here. Dog head is this piece here. This is the little, if you want to make him have a little bit more color, this is going to go on here. Let me flip this around. So these are his feet, and these are the same feet for the cat and the dog. And those are here. The dog's ears are these 2 pieces here. His muzzle is this one here. And I chose the long skinny tail, which is right over here. I'm going to put 2 patches on his eyes, which I used this one here. And then this is his face, which this is a sticky sheet, but I still am going to put some glue on here. I just wanted to keep track of all these pieces here. So those are his eyes, and that is his nose. And this was in one die. That die is this die over here. Alright, so I want to put a little shading on this dog. Let me bring in some scrap. Now, since this dog is tan, I want to put a little bit of brown on this dog. Let me put all the pieces on here. So let me grab my brown brush and make sure I don't have anything too dark on here. I'm going to grab some honey mustard, and I'm just going to kind of go around the edge here just to give this dog a little bit of shading. And we'll give some of his body some shading. Now, a lot of this piece you don't see by the time you put the legs on, because the front legs kind of go on like this. So I just want a little shading here on the sides. Now I'm going to give a little brown even to the darker pieces, because I did choose 2 different color browns here to make the dog. They are off a couple of shades, just to make him a little more interesting. But I still want to put a little color on this. Just around it. I'm just using the smallest brush I have. And we'll put some on his nose. And his ears, we'll make the tops of his ears a little darker. And I'm not going to do anything with those spots. They'll be fine. And we'll put a little color in here. Actually, we'll put it on this side. There we go. Now, a couple of these dies do have some stenciling, so let me grab these dies so we can get the stenciling. Now, of course, you would do this just when you cut them out instead of putting them back in like I am. Alright, so we'll just leave those in here. And let me grab my art liner. Now I'm going to use my 0.1 art liner. And I'm just going to hold that in place and draw in his little toes. Just like that. Make sure this one's in place. And you do feel it slide right back into place. And do his little toes. Now his little paws are all done. Put these back. One goes here. One goes over here. Now his little muzzle here, this also has some stenciling. So let me put that back in here. And go over his nose. It's going to go in the 3 holes. And done. So now it's time to glue our little dog here together. Right, now, I've seen this dog put together with the narrow part on the top and the narrow part on the bottom. So it's kind of, dealer's choice there. Whichever you want to do. And depending on where you place his nose, he's going to look slightly different also. So I'm thinking I am going to make him something along that lines. I think that looks good. Okay. So let me put a little bit of glue on this side. Now you are going to want a pair of tweezers for this project. I like reverse ones simply because their resting position is closed. And then once you clip it, you can just kind of hold it with one hand. You don't have to squeeze it. Then we'll put one ear in place. And now we'll glue the other ear. Turn him around this way. Here we go. Now his nose, which I know I'm about to put on upside down. Let's make sure we don't do that. His nose will be like this. So his nose goes down. Like that. Now here again, you could put it up here where you can see his mouth a little bit, or bring it down. I'm just going to have a little hint of a nose there. A little mouth here. So now I need his nose. Just let me hold it with the tweezers. I think I've had these for a while and the glue has gotten a little dried out. So this goes on the thicker part of the pie shape on top. If you put too much glue on there, just dab it off with your finger. There we go. Now his eyes. We have to decide where his eyes are going to go. Oh wait, I almost forgot his little patches here. Alright, so I can put his little patches in place. Actually, let me glue his eyes in the patches. That might make more sense. Now, let me grab this with my tweezers. Because this is a teeny tiny little piece. May even want to use your pickup tool for this. Now I have glue on my hand and it's sticking to me. Here we go. Get in there. Alright, let me try this again with the pickup tool. Alright, a little dab of glue. And pick this these up. There we go. Much better. There we go. Now the other eye. You pick it up. And put it down. Now I just have to decide. Whoop. Moved over a little bit. Yeah, this piece here is a little fussy. Here we go. Alright, so now we can decide where we want to put the eyes. Do we want the patch going up or down? Like that. Alright. So I'm going to pick this up, put some glue down, put that down, pick this one up, glue, and down. There we go. There's our dog's head. Now do the feet. The feet are just going to sit here just like this, right on top. Just find where this curve and that curve matches. Here we go. Oh, and actually, I want to put this piece down first. If you're going to put a little tuff on him, put that piece down first, or else it's going to look really weird. Because that needs to go underneath. There we go. Grab the other foot. And find the spot where it matches. And put the little dog down. There we go. So like that. So now his tail. So I'm going to put the tail to the left on the dog and the right on the cat. That way their tails will go in opposite directions. And they'll look better on the card. Tail just goes like that. Now his head. Glue across the bottom. And you can put his head a little tilted or straight. Either way. There we go. So now we need to make him a pilgrim. So what we're going to, let that dry for a second. There we go. Alright, now to make him a pilgrim, we're going to take the witch's hat, and put this to the side for a second. And what I'm going to do, grab my scissors, and I'm going to snip this part off. Like that. So now you end up with what kind of looks like a scarecrow hat. Alright. Now you can decide where you want to cut it off to make it straight across. I'm going to cut it about here. Like that. Now to show you where I'm headed, let me bring you the one I made. Alright, so now we have the band. Which we'll put some glue on the back here. This way. Now the band, I'm going to line up with this corner right here and this right here. That just goes right here. We'll take the buckle. Dab that, make sure we don't have too much on there. And put the buckle right over the top, like that. Now the hat was the witch's hat here. The buckle is right here. And this piece right here is the brim. So there we go. Now we have pilgrim's hats. So we take our little dog, and we're going to make him a little pilgrim. Let's put that little hat right on his head. He will now be a pilgrim. Here we go. Little pilgrim dog. Alright, so we'll put him there to dry. Now let's talk about the cat. Bring in our paper again. So I'm going to make this grayish taupey color cat. So once again, we use the same body. We have the same paws. The head is this piece here, which is this one right here. We have the cat tail, which is right here. Now the cat ears have the outer piece here, which is this piece up here. And then there is an inner piece, which is this pink right here, and that is, it's this piece here. So this piece here makes the inside of the cat's ears and the cat's nose. So they put the ears and the nose together. And that's the one that's inside the cat's head. So we have ears, and I have his face. Now the cat's face is all on one die also, and it is over here. Alright, so now I'm going to bring in a little bit of gray. So I'm going to use the gray here, and I'm going to do the same thing I did with the dog. Just put a little shading here. Make the cat look a little more interesting. On his feet. On his body here. Now his whiskers, the furry part of these faces, I really want to make darker. And then I'm going to leave the top of his head lighter. I think that's good. I think I'm going to make the tip of his tail darker. Just for a little more interest. And the outside of his ears. There we go. Okay, he's all set. Now let's glue him together. Now I'm not going to put the little tuft on the cat, so we're just going to start with the paws. Oh wait, I didn't do these yet. Let's line these up. Grab my art liner. Do the cat's paws. Other paw. Alright, that's the only thing you have to do for the cat. Alright, so let's start gluing him together. Alright, so we have leg 1. So we will line up. And his leg goes right there. That's a little crooked. Pull that down just a little bit. There we go. And there's that one. the little cat's tail on. I'm going to put this one in the opposite direction of the dog's, so when they go on the card, it looks a little balanced. Okay, now let's talk about this cat's head. So first we have the ears, which are going to go like this. Kind of like that. But first we need to put the little pink pieces on his ears. So let me grab my tweezers. This one will go on here, because there is a left and a right. Make sure I'm putting it in the right one. And I'm just going to make sure that the sides are even. And that's where I'm going to place it. Because part of the bottom of this ear is going to be behind the cat, so it'll be fine. Yep, leave that one there. Pick up the ear. And line it up like I did the other one. The two sides. Press down. Alright, now we glue these ears on. So I'm going to put some glue across the bottom of the ears. Kind of get them where I want them. Sort of. So I want the ear to be here and here. Let me look at it, make sure I'm happy with that placement. Like that. And I find with these little pieces, sometimes it's easier to just move the bigger piece to the little piece. Alright, so now we have this cat's face. Now these are all little pieces. So let me grab this one. Let me decide where I'm going to put this. Looks like there we go. And there is some glue on here, but like I said, I've had these for a really long time, and I think it's gotten kind of worn. So, alright, so the cat's mouth will be down here. Alright. And his nose will be about here. So I'm going to put one eye over here. And yeah, this is like the tough part of this, is putting these eyes on. Once you get the eyes on, the rest of it goes together really easily. There's an eye. Cat's nose, right here. That might be a little low. You know what? I'm going to put the mouth on first, and then the nose in the middle. The mouth should be about here. And the nose will be on top. And the flat part on the top. There we go. Take a look. Put some more glue on this mouth. There you go. Down really good. And there's our cat. Now get the cat's hat. Now most of the cat's ears are going to be covered by the hat. There's just no way to keep that from happening. But I wanted to show you how to get those ears on there. Now that looks like that's too high in his head. There we go. Oh, his mouth fell off. All right, this mouth is becoming a problem. Okay, well, there's our cat. Little pilgrims. Alright, so now let's talk about the scarecrow. Now let me bring in my little prototype. He has not been embossed, he hasn't been shaded, he hasn't been anything. I just wanted to make sure the pieces I was going to use were going to work. So we're going to use the cat head upside down. We are going to use the body right side up. This is this piece here, which I think was for the vampire. We're going to use that because it's pants if you turn it upside down. And it also is arms. So this is going to be arms. This is going to be pants. We're going to make him a hat. So let's get going on that. All right, so I did emboss these pieces, and those were the embossing folders I showed you in the beginning. So all I did here was run it through. I die cut them first, ran the pieces through the embossing folder, and now I'm just going to take a little bit of this honey mustard. Oh, actually, no, that's not what I did. I am going to take the die pieces here and rub this over the top. And that was it. Easy peasy. When that dries, it will look like this. Alright, so the pants are going to be just the way they are, and they will get glued to the bottom here, but I'm going to cut off these two lumpy pieces here. I'm just going to snip that off and snip this side off. And now the pants get glued to the bottom here. All right. So his head I already inked. I went around with the honey mustard and put some shading on the head. So his head is right there. Alright, the next piece we need to put on is his little hay hair that's sticking out from his arms and legs. And what I used is the broom. I cut out 4 pieces for the broom. So I have 3 pieces here that I've already cut, embossed, and colored over. So this one here, I will need to emboss it. So let me grab this. Because you could just color over it, but I think it looks better if you emboss it first. So to emboss it, I'm going to put it right back in here. Now I know I don't have the top piece on here. It's because I'm going to trim this down anyway, so it doesn't matter. And let me grab my folders. Let me bring in my MIDI. And I'm just going to emboss this with the MIDI. Now the way I emboss with the MIDI is I use the shim. I have a piece of the embossing mat from my regular Gemini. I'm just going to put this down on top. Like that. And I'm only going to use half the folder. I'm going to put the folder on top like this. If you use both sides of the folder, it's too thick. And it just puts too much pressure on the machine. Alright, now it's embossed. Alright, we'll put this back. Now I'll bring in the honey mustard again. Move that out of the way. And I'm just going to brush over the top like I did with that. And go over it a little bit. I think I will make these a little darker. And just take the brush, put a little more shading on there with whatever's left on the brush. There we go. Alright. Alright, so now I'm going to put 2 of these on each leg of the scarecrow to make it nice and full. So I am going to need 2 more. Put those next to each other. And kind of scoot that together. Decide where I like it. Press down. Now remember, these are scarecrows, so it doesn't have to be an exact science here. Put more glue in between them. There we go. Do the same thing with the other side. Put them next to each other. Put a little glue on it first this time. You can do it a couple different ways. Right. All right. You can wipe the glue off my fingers. I'll put some glue across the back here. Find where I like it, press down. Alright, so now he has his pants and he's got his hay sticking out the bottom. He needs shoes. Well, guess what? The little muzzle on the dog makes great shoes. So, we'll put some glue on the back here and across here. And here there is no left and right. They're both the same. And I'm just going to put this right here. And then pick up the other one right here. Alright, so now the bottom of our scarecrow is done. Now for his arms, I do need to cut this. And I thought this was a little wide for a scarecrow. That just seemed a little wide. So I'm going to put these on top of each other. So see the 2 sides that are embossed, the front sides, I'm going to put right next to each other. So I can cut this and they'll both be the same. So I like the curve of the arm here. So I'm just going to start about a half an inch down and cut a little triangle out. Like that. And now I have 2 arms. Which can go here. And so you could go behind if you wanted to. let's see. How do I want his arms in the back? You know what? I will put his arms in the back. I did this one with the arms in the front, but I think I'm going to put the arms in the back this time. So you can do it either way. There's one arm. There's two arms. So you can see the difference. Arms in the front, arms in the back. Either way, it works. Alright, so now the head will come on here. We'll attach the cat head upside down. Oops, I did say upside down as I'm doing it the same way. Attach the cat head upside down. You can give his head a little turn if you want. As you know, he's a scarecrow. Alright, now his hat can be a little different. His hat can be a farmer more looking hat if you want. In which case you just kind of trim that point off. There we go. Now he's got a little scarecrow hat. Now he will also need, let me get rid of this paper here. Alright, so he will also need a brim. And the brim will go in the same place, right at the corner there. Now I decided he needed a little flower on his hat, and the way I did that is I cut out two of the bows. Now if you take the two bows and glue them together, you get a flower. There we go. A little flower. Now I'm going to take a little bit of glue, put it in the center. And I'm going to pick up this little gem and put this in the center. Like that. And now he has a little flower for his hat. And we'll put a little glue here. Put the flower down. And there we go. Now that can go on his head. Alright, now I do need two more pieces. I didn't cut out enough, so let me cut out two more pieces of this broom really quick. Alright, so here's our two pieces. Let me ink them really quick. Now, because the hands are smaller, I am going to cut this in half. There's one, and here's two. So I kind of just wanted it to look a little bit more like it was more layers here. So I do want to put a little more ink here, I think, now that I cut that. Alright, so I'm going to glue these together. Like this. And lay this down. Put it where I want it, press down, like that. Do the same thing for the other side. Some glue. Lay them on top of each other. Glue across the top. Find where I like it. Press down. Alright, so we have a little scarecrow. And you can see the difference just doing the shading and the embossing, how different it looked like from my prototype. He's looking pretty good. Alright, so now we just need to do his face and his little pitchfork. So his little pitchfork is this right here. And all I'm going to do is just cut off the spiky pieces. Now, he's got a pitchfork. Let me grab it with the tweezers. There you go. So I'm going to need to put glue on the front, on the end. That's going to go under his hand. And then the rest of this gets glue in the back. Alright, so I'm going to go under his hand and across his body. There we go. There we go. So under his hand and then across his body. Now it looks like he's holding his little pitchfork. So all we have left is his face. So I took this piece here, which was the handle for the bucket, and I'm just going to cut that down to be more like what his smile should be, because that's just a little bit big. And I'm just going to put it there, make sure it's still not too big. I think that's okay. So let's go ahead and glue this piece on. And the tweezers are going to be your friend. Alright. Turn him sideways, put his little smile on here. Okay. So now I have the insides of the cat's ears, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to use those or if I wanted to use these little teeth. See, these pieces here are these two pieces here. So let's decide here. What looks better, the little ones or the big ones? Oh, that's going to be way too big. All right, we're going with the little ones. All right. So let me use my glue. Put glue here for his nose. One eye over here. One eye over here. I'm going to use my pickup tool. That one's upside down. And I'm going to put the point up. And put his nose on. Get it where I want it. There we go. And we'll take one eye, pointy part up. Take the other eye, pointy part up. There we go. Now you've got a little face. Now, I do have another bow tie, if you wanted to. You could give him a little bow tie here. I think that would be cute. So we'll put a little glue on the back of this. Grab it with the tweezers. And put that on here, just like that. So now we have our little scarecrow. So our pieces are all done. So now, let's move all this out of the way and start putting the card together. Now I do have some grass here. I have 2 pieces of long and 2 pieces of short. I think I know how I want to use those on the card, but we'll make that decision when I get to that point. I also cut out, and these are just from my stash. In my stash I have the long, this medium, and I also have a very short small grass that I keep. And I just use those on all my cards. I've had those dies for a very long time, so I'm not sure who made them. But if you ever come across just a basic grass a tall, a medium, and a short. They are great to have in your stash. So now I do have the little pumpkins. So this little pumpkin here was for the jack-o'-lantern that the cat is holding on the box. And then I used, where is the little piece? This piece here, that's what I used for the stem top. So that's how I made the little pumpkin. So I have 2 more pumpkins to make. Then we have the stems. All right. Now these, I'm just going to come in here with tomato soup and my little brush and just put a little bit of coloring on there, just so it doesn't look flat. Because you don't put any shading on it, your papers tend to look really kind of flat. And that just really adds a lot of life to them. And they just have a little texture. That's all that needs. Alright, so we just glue on the tops. Put a little bit of glue here. And now you do want these at kind of an angle. You don't want them straight up and down. Because when you put it straight up and down, it looked really weird. So you do want it at a little bit of an angle here. And we'll put glue on this one. And they do not all have to be the same, because not all pumpkins are the same. And we'll use that one. That's an extra one. Alright, so now I have my scarecrow, the dog, the cat, 3 pumpkins. I think we are ready to put the card together. Alright, so let's start with the outside of the card. So I have my 5x7 card base. I have a 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. And then I have this 4x6, which is going to get glued on to the center here like this. Let's go ahead and do that. Now at this point, if you wanted to edge your paper, you absolutely could. Now I am trying to decide if I want to. Let's see. Just take this, go around. Especially when you have white core paper, this is nice to do, because that way you don't have the white showing. There we go. The brown, a little around the brown. And the blue. Alright, now let's talk about this blue here. Now I have some white pigment ink. Now a lot of times when you see me do sky, I start off with white piece of paper, put blue on it. So this time around I decided I would start with blue paper and put white on it. Let me flip this over since we're dealing with white. And what I'm going to do, just kind of dab this here, and I'm just going to go across the white and make some wispy clouds. There you go, some circles, some more lines, a couple circles. Go off the edge. Because this is pigment ink, so it will cover over the color. So you don't always have to start with the white card. You can start with a color and then just put a little bit of white over the top. That's always an option. That looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to smear it all, blend it all in. There we go. So now we have some clouds. So now we have to start building our picture. So I know the scarecrow is going to go in the back, and the dog will go on this side, cat will go on this side. That's why I put their tails on opposite sides. And I want the grass. So I was thinking this grass would be behind them. So the first question I have is, do I want to put it all the way across, or do I just want to go through part of it? Because then I can overlap this a little bit. But I want to hide my seam here. So if that's going to be there, this will be in the front. So if this will come up to here, this will just need to come down just a little bit. So let me start gluing this down, and then I'll trim it after I get it glued on. So I'm just going to put glue on the bottom here and let the top be free. Dab this a little bit. This will come down here. And glue on this one. Dab, dab. I missed that one. And put this one over here. And I'll turn this over and snip this off. There. And right here. I could make this a little more if I wanted to, but I think that might be fine. Alright, so Mr. Dog will go over here. Scarecrow will be in the top, in the middle, and Kitty Cat will be over here. Make sure we have room for everybody. And the grass will come over the top like this. Alright, so let's get the Scarecrow down. Now I am going to put a little piece of foam behind his head. And I'm going to do the same thing with the cat and the dog. And the reason being is when you glue it to the bottom, you've seen me do this before, glue it to the bottom and put a little separation between his head and the sky. And then it doesn't look like your little characters are glued to the sky. Because sometimes if you don't, they do tend to look like they're glued to the sky. That is not the look we're going for. Alright, so bring this down. There we go. There, so now his feet are on the ground, but his head is not glued to the sky. Now we'll do Mr. Dog. Now glue across the bottom. It'll be here. The little kitty cat will be on the other side. Over here. There we go. So now the grass will come down here. Here again, I'm just going to go across the bottom of the grass. And now I'm going to put this seam where I can cover it with pumpkins. So if I'm going to put a pumpkin here, and a pumpkin here, and a pumpkin over here, so I can use this one in the middle to hide my seam. So I'm going to glue this here. Right at the flush with the bottom of the paper. other one down. All right. Now this pumpkin, I like this one. This one came out the best. Put this one in the middle. And glue that down. Now we'll hide my seam. Now I can snip the edges off. Just snip that. Snip this one. Now, just the last two pumpkins. These pumpkins can go wherever you want because they're not hiding anything. So I can put one over here. And one over here. There we go. Thanksgiving card. Now this will get glued to the 4x6. See on the back here is where I tried out the white pigment ink before I started recording to make sure it was going to work. This will go in the middle. All right. Here we go. This will go on here, and once again, this was from Autumn Blessing. And this goes in the middle, like that. And this goes on the front of the card. Once again, this was 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. Right. Make sure we're not putting it upside down. There we go. And I don't think I'm going to put a sentiment in the front of this card. There's a lot going on here on this card, and I really don't want to cover any of it. So I think I'm just going to leave it here. If you have a tiny little Thanksgiving, you could put it over here or over here, and you wouldn't cover anything. But I don't have one that small. So I think I'm just going to leave it like that. So the inside of the card, we have the 3x5 and the 3.5 by 5.5. I am going to stamp, May all the good things of life be yours, not just at Thanksgiving, but throughout the coming year. So we're going to take that. Let me grab my stamping platform. All right, so here's the 3x5. Here is the message that I'm going to have in the middle. Make sure we don't have it upside down. That will go in the middle here like this. There was a little sprig here and 2 leaves, and I want to put those on here too. Let's see. That one will go over here. This one will go over here. And the little sprig will come over here, like that. Let's see what that looks like. Pick this up. Now I am going to stamp this in seal brown, just because there's so much brown in the card. Now if I don't like it, I can go back and put black over the top. We shall see. Oh yeah, I think the brown will be just fine. Alright, that got a little mushy there, but you know what? I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to grab my black art liner. And I am going to make it look like that was intentional. I'm going to put a couple squiggles here. If you ever have a mess up like that, don't panic. Just go with it. There you go. That looks like you did it on purpose. I'm going to take the brown here and go around the edge. That. Now this will get glued to the middle of this. Even, I think this needs a little dot here. And a little dot here. And something there. There we go. That looks completely intentional. Everything can be fixed. Alright, this will go in the middle here. If you wanted to, you could even take this, get rid of a little bit of that white. I'm just using what was left on my brown brush from the honey mustard, and just going around a little bit. Give it a little something something. Alright, so that's going to be the inside of the card. Now, glue this in, and we will be done. Now, I was thinking we absolutely could put a Santa hat on these animals and make them Santa figures. I mean, Christmas figures. So I will be looking in my stash to see where I have a hat the right size. Yeah, so look around your stash and see what else you have that you can add to these pets to make them useful for all year long, not just Halloween. Alright, so if you enjoyed this card, please consider subscribing to my channel. And until next time, stay crafty.